Chapter 3 of Who Are You? Tales of a Survivor continued, Mommie Dearest. So everyone got to the point where no one wanted to take her help because there were too many strings attached and you knew she would change her mind anyhow. I've always gone the opposite way of my mother, who supplied a very effective, reverse role model for me in raising and nurturing my own children. I chose the other route. I was determined to always be there for my kids in a way my mother rarely was there for me. I'm the mom who has been involved in their school. I played games with them, took them on trips, and wanted to spend time with them. I used my relationship with my mother as motivation to make myself a better mother. So in that sense, it was a blessing in disguise. I made it a point to be open and honest with my kids about all my big ugly mistakes. I didn't try to make it seem like I was perfect, but my mom was never like that. She always made it a point to try to make it seem like she had been the perfect child growing up and was now the perfect mother. She never owned anything about herself that could be viewed as negative. I've also lived my adulthood much differently from her in that I never wanted to be tied to a desk and 9-to-5 job. Not me. The longest I held a job was 6 years, and that was at the Recording Industry Association of America. I would hardly even call that work because the way that my brother Hakeem and I ran that place, I may not have managed money the way that my mother wanted me to, but I spent it on the kids. I put them in dance, I put them in baseball, I paid for the nice vacations. That's something Mom didn't always agree with. She kind of made her own bed in terms of her kids and grandchildren. She's not the warm and fuzzy grandmother that wants the grandkids for the summer. The one time that my kids did spend a few days with her, she didn't want them to do anything, and they were miserable. She did nothing but complain and would not allow them to just be kids. Sorry. That was the last time that they were alone with her. Now, Mom still has a solid relationship with my sister Crystal, who's consistently cast herself as the protector in our family. She's always said, "That's still our mother." She tried to empathize with her and protect her no matter what. And I understand and respect her for it. She even prided herself on being the glue that holds things together. That's never going to be me, though. See, I'm never good enough for my mother. I've never, ever been good enough for her. I've had to monitor and oversee my children's relationship with their grandmother, and I had no choice because at every opportunity she tried to turn my children against me and say awful things about me. I've had to do everything in my power just to shut that off. She's still allowed to see the grandkids, but to be honest, I'm never really comfortable with her seeing them alone, even after they're grown. You know how siblings argue over which child is their parent's favorite in a family? Well, Crystal and Talia and I, we don't do that. We already know that Crystal's the favorite. Instead, we argue about which daughter is the least favorite. And it became clear in 2020 that that person was me. Okay, so a conversation with Talia in the middle of the COVID pandemic last year confirmed it. "You must have broken Mama's heart somehow," Talia told me after having just gotten off the phone with our mother. "Why do you say that?" I asked. "Because she lets you have so much power over her that you're all she thinks about." She was like, "The only thing she does is complain about you and trash you over stuff. She must really have a thing for you." Talia's point was that I was such an obsession for Mama that I had to somehow be her favorite. But I saw it the opposite way. "What's it about?" I reasoned to my sister. "It's that I'm the only one that she's never been able to control at any point in my life. And for someone like her, that's completely crazy making. It frustrates the shit out of her. The flip side of that is complete jealousy. My mother has wished she could be free and easy like me, but her negative way of looking at the world has never allowed it. There was this one time when, on the advice of Talia, I read a letter out loud to my mother. I was crying regarding my feelings about her, but she so lacks compassion that she can't hear you even when your heart is bleeding. I was in tears, but it elicited not a single bit of emotion from her. It was positively sociopathic. No, Angie, I'm really sorry you feel that way. I never meant to make you feel like that. Instead, it was, you're crazy, Angie, and you're dramatic. I mean, it was horrible. Talia tried the same thing, also in tears, and the very same thing happened. She was just like, Mom, you're not hearing me. I'm trying to tell you about me and how I feel in our relationship. And you keep going back to Angie and all that you've done for her and what she doesn't do and all of that stuff and just blah, 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 blah. It's like she carries around this big ball of anger and resentment over the fact that she had these kids and it put a damper on her life. Crystal has always acted like more of a mother to me than Joan has. And then, because she's envious that I'm the mother she could never be, that I've raised my kids in the total opposite manner of how Mama did, she worked to discredit me at every turn. All of this said, I have finally found peace with it all. The fact that I've not spoken to my mother much lately is fine by me. It's the way things need to be in order to protect my heart and to just keep my sanity. I believe it may be this way for the rest of my life. When you're met with so much judgment and bitterness, at some point you just have to surrender and leave it all behind. You've heard about the definition of insanity, right? It's repeating the same actions over and over and expecting different results. Well, I no longer expect anything to change when it comes to Mommie Dearest. Maybe that means I'm sane after all. So that's the end of chapter 3, guys. And again, as I said at the top of the chapter, that's not our story anymore. Those things very much did happen the way that they did, and I wore those scars for my entire life. I'm now 51, and I have been able to heal from this trauma through writing this book, through putting my story out, sharing and helping others that have gone through similar things. And then my mom and I actually, I joke about it, but there may be some truth to it that as she's gotten older and she's getting forgetful, I joke and say, maybe she just forgot that she didn't like me. Don't get me wrong. My mom has done a lot for me in my life, financially, monetarily, but I needed a mother's love, like nurturing hugs. I needed to be told that I was loved. I needed to be told that I was beautiful. I needed that. But how could she give me that which she was not given? And I've learned so much about her life and her relationship with her own mother and her mother's lack of a relationship with her own mother. See, those are generational curses that are passed down, but we can break those. But we have to have a conversation. There needs to be full disclosure. There needs to be forgiveness. There needs to be, regurgitation of painful things. And that's the thing. People don't want to disclose the painful. They don't want to share and show the big blue uglies. So I've kind of made myself the sacrificial lamb. And when I tell you, writing this book, it caused a lot of drama amongst my sisters and I. My older sister, I love and respect her like my mom, but it was bad. She didn't want me to share these stories because she was trying to protect my mother. But, how else do we heal unless, my story is my story. Your story is your story. And I didn't write this book to try and make anybody look bad. I wrote this book to share my story, to help others, and in turn, it is helping me. It's helped me. My mom has a great relationship with my youngest son. She doesn't have that great relationship with my older kids. I think, that could happen maybe. But with my youngest, who's 10, these last years of her life or however long we're here, it's been great for her. It's been great for us. It's been great for him and her. So it can get better. See you in chapter 4.